His eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he tossed the transfer papers onto my desk. Rain pelted against the windows of our downtown office, matching the storm brewing inside me. "Millie, effective Monday, you're relocating to West Branch," Victor announced, his lips curling into what could only be described as pleasure at my impending demise. The room tilted slightly. West Branch, the joke of our company, the black hole where careers went to die. "That location closes in 30 days, I said, trying to keep my voice steady while 20 pairs of eyes pretended not to watch from surrounding cubicles. Victor leaned in, close enough that only I could hear his next words. "Think of it as an opportunity to enhance your resume. Good luck." The smirk that followed told the real story. My fingers trembled as I lifted the paper. 30 days' notice had been given to West Branch employees weeks ago. Customers had already been notified of the closure. Equipment was scheduled for removal. This wasn't a transfer, it was an execution. The real reason sat between us, unspoken but obvious to everyone who had attended last week's quarterly review. I had questioned Victor's decision to abandon our loyal middle-market customers in favor of chasing high-net-worth clients. I had brought data, projections, historical precedent. I had made him look unprepared in front of the executive team, and now I was paying for it. "The branch manager officially leaves tomorrow. You'll take over Monday morning," he continued, already walking away. "I've copied HR. Transfer is non-negotiable." Rain soaked through my clothes as I stood at the bus stop that evening. 3 years of 60-hour weeks, sacrificed weekends, postponed vacations, all erased with a single signature. My phone buzzed with messages from colleagues, some offering condolences, others keeping strategic distance from the newly condemned. Monday arrived with cruel sunshine. West Branch sat in an aging strip mall between a vacant storefront and a discount shoe shop. The sign letters had faded to a pale blue, barely visible against the cloudy sky. Inside, the carpet was worn to threads in high-traffic areas, and desktop computers looked like museum pieces. 5 employees looked up when I entered, their expressions a mix of confusion and pity. Nobody had bothered to tell them a new manager was coming to oversee their final month. "I'm Millie," I said, placing my single box of belongings on the nearest desk. "Apparently, I'm your new manager." A woman with gray-streaked hair and tired eyes approached. "I'm Betsy, been assistant branch manager for 16 years. Didn't know they were sending someone new. Waste of your time, honestly." She gestured toward a small office with glass walls. "That's yours, I guess. For whatever it's worth." The manager's office held nothing but outdated training manuals and empty filing cabinets. A thick layer of dust covered everything. On the desk's corner sat a stack of customer exit surveys, most expressing regret over the branch's closure. By lunchtime, I understood the complete picture. This branch had been systematically strangled. Their technology requests had been denied for years. Their marketing materials were outdated. Their customer outreach budget had been eliminated 18 months ago. Yet somehow, this team of 5 was still serving nearly 200 loyal customers who refused to change branches, despite headquarters' best efforts to push them out. "Most of our customers are from the immigrant community or retirees who've banked here for decades," Betsy explained, handing me performance reports that headquarters had apparently ignored. Victor made it clear 3 years ago that these weren't the right type of customers anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. The unfairness burned in my chest. Victor had sent me here to fail, to quietly process paperwork until the branch closed, adding a humiliating final note to my employment record. I pulled out the local area map I'd taken from the branch. Something about the location kept nagging at me. The commercial zone looked different from what I remembered. I opened my laptop and checked the city development website. The realization hit like a thunderbolt. West Branch sat exactly 4 blocks away from River District, the city's massive redevelopment project that had transformed abandoned warehouses into the fastest-growing small business incubator in the region. Over 300 new business startups had moved in during the past year alone, with hundreds more expected. And our company had a branch, the only financial institution, within walking distance. I dug deeper. Headquarters had commissioned a regional market analysis last year, but focused only on high-wealth residential areas. They'd completely missed the commercial transformation happening right beside our dying branch. My heart raced as I connected more dots. West Branch had something no other branch had: direct access to hundreds of new businesses that needed financial services. At 5:30 a.m., I was waiting when Betsy arrived to open the branch. I need to understand something, I said, pointing to my map. How many of these new businesses have accounts with us? None, she replied. We tried telling headquarters about the redevelopment, but they cut our business development position 2 years ago, said we should focus on orderly closure instead. The pieces were falling into place. This wasn't just about my career anymore. This was about 5 people losing their jobs because executives were too arrogant to see opportunity staring them in the face. What would you say if I told you we have 30 days to save this branch? I asked. Betsy laughed, a short, bitter sound. I'd say you're either crazy or you don't understand how this company works. Maybe both, I admitted, but I'm not going down without trying. Before we continue, I want to thank you for starting this journey with me. If my story has captured your interest so far, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to hear more stories like mine. The support means everything, and it helps others find these real-life accounts too. Now, let me properly introduce myself. My name is Millicent Walsh. Millie, to friends and colleagues. Before the events I'm sharing, I was a regional operations director with 8 years at the company. I'd risen through customer service into management, building a reputation as a problem solver and data analyst. I lived for spreadsheets and process improvements. Not particularly exciting, but it was honest work that I excelled at. I'd grown up watching my immigrant parents work multiple jobs to afford basic financial services, often exploited by predatory lenders because traditional institutions wouldn't serve them. That experience drove my passion for accessible banking and my friction with Victor. Victor Harmon had joined as regional executive 10 months earlier, brought in to modernize our approach. His vision exclusively targeted affluent clients. When quarterly numbers didn't immediately improve, he began closing underperforming branches, starting with those serving working-class neighborhoods. That brings us back to West Branch and the 5 people now looking at me like I'd suggested we fly to the moon. Besides Betsy, there was Rajan, the loan teller who'd worked there for 23 years, Lydia, the customer service representative studying for her business degree at night, Paolo, the loan officer who knew every small business owner in the old neighborhood, and Grace, who handled account openings and closings. Headquarters has written us off, Paolo said, arms crossed defensively. I've submitted business projections about the River District 3 times. They don't even respond anymore. I pulled out my laptop and showed them the research I'd done overnight. The company doesn't see what we have here, but that doesn't mean we can't show them. Show them what, exactly? Lydia asked, her skepticism evident. That we can get a few new accounts before they lock the doors? They've already told customers we're closing. What if we could get 50 new business accounts in 30 days? I challenged. What if we could show revenue potential that's 10 times what this branch currently produces? Rajan shook his head. Even if we could, Victor would never admit he was wrong. He's been dismantling branches like ours since he arrived. I'm not trying to convince Victor, I explained, feeling the first spark of something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. I'm going over his head, straight to the executive committee. Grace, who hadn't spoken until now, leaned forward. How? By doing exactly what this branch was always meant to do, serve this community. Only now, the community has changed, and nobody bothered to notice. That day, we took inventory of what we had. 5 committed employees, an outdated branch, and 30 days before closure. Our company systems showed we had 0 budget for marketing, 0 allocation for community outreach, and 0 expectations for anything but an orderly shutdown. First, we need to understand what these new businesses actually need, I said, spreading a map across the break room table. Paolo, you have experience with small business accounts. What would attract these startups? Paolo considered this. Quick approval processes, flexible terms for new ventures, and someone who understands their specific industry challenges, which is exactly what our premium direction doesn't offer, Betsy added. I nodded. We need to meet these businesses where they are. Literally. My plan was audacious but simple. While headquarters thought we were processing closing paperwork, we would transform the branch into a business development hub focused exclusively on River District startups. This is career suicide, Rajan warned, though I noticed a spark of interest in his eyes. Victor will crush any successful initiative from this branch. Probably, I agreed, but I'm already dead in this company. We all are, so we might as well go down fighting. Grace spoke up, her voice quiet but determined. I have contacts at the River District Management Office. My cousin works in their administration. Lydia pulled out her phone. 3 of my business school classmates are in startups there. They've been complaining about having to drive across town for banking services. By end of day, we had divided responsibilities. Paolo and I would develop tailored financial packages for startups. Lydia and Grace would handle outreach and relationship building. Rajan and Betsy would manage existing customers while training all of us on quick approval protocols. The next morning, we arrived an hour early. I'd spent the night creating presentation materials on my personal laptop since our branch computers couldn't run current software. We transformed the branch's dusty conference room into a strategy center, with maps, target lists, and service matrices taped to the walls. If headquarters asks, we're organizing customer transition files, I instructed. Everything else stays between us. By noon, Grace had secured us an invitation to a River District networking event that weekend. By Tuesday, Paolo had drafted specialized offering sheets for tech startups, service businesses, and manufacturing ventures. Lydia organized current customers into a referral network, incentivizing them with special rates to introduce new businesses. Our first hurdle appeared Wednesday morning. An email from Victor. All West Branch staff are required to attend closure training sessions downtown, effective immediately. Daily sessions, 1 to 5 p.m., for the next 2 weeks. This would kill our outreach efforts. The team looked to me, panic evident. He knows, Rajan muttered. Someone tipped him off. I considered our options. Betsy and I will attend. The rest of you develop technology issues that require you to remain at the branch. If anyone questions it, you're helping customers transition their accounts. The training sessions were soul-crushing exercises in corporate doublespeak. Customer relationship transitions meant teaching clients to use ATMs instead of tellers. Career development opportunities meant applying for positions at other branches that didn't exist. Victor made a point of acknowledging me on the first day. Settling in at West Branch? Millie, I trust you're finding it educational. The satisfaction in his voice strengthened my resolve. Meanwhile, our team was making progress. Paolo had made contact with 16 businesses and scheduled appointments. Grace and her cousin had arranged for us to set up an information table at River District's monthly merchant meeting. Lydia had convinced her professors to bring a business class to our branch for a real-world banking workshop. Our second obstacle arrived Friday morning. The company system showed that all our cash handling limits had been restricted, and our loan approval thresholds reduced to almost nothing. This is standard closing procedure, Betsy explained, but they've accelerated it. We're essentially functioning as a customer service desk now, not a full branch. I called an emergency meeting. They're trying to choke us without officially interfering. We need to adapt. I know someone in the downtown branch, Lydia offered. She might process applications for us under their authority. And my old manager at North Branch still takes my calls, Paolo added. He might sign off on initial approvals. We reorganized our approach. Instead of processing applications at our branch, we would serve as the relationship front end, with paperwork flowing through sympathetic colleagues at other locations. It was cumbersome, but functional. By the end of week 1, we had opened accounts for 7 River District businesses. Small victories, but momentum was building. Word was spreading through the entrepreneurial community about the branch that comes to you. Our makeshift mobile service where Paolo and Grace would actually visit startups to process paperwork. Then came our third and most serious obstacle. Monday morning of week 2, I arrived to find an IT technician removing our computers. System upgrade, he explained vaguely. Orders from regional office. By noon, our internet connection had been accidentally disconnected. Our phone system developed maintenance issues. We were effectively cut off from company systems. This isn't coincidence, Betsy said, as we gathered in the now empty conference room. Victor's figured out what we're doing. The team's energy deflated. Without systems access, we couldn't process any new accounts or service existing ones. That's it then, Rajan sighed. We gave it a good shot. I felt the weight of responsibility. I had given these people false hope, convinced them to risk their final employment days on an impossible mission. Now they would have nothing to show for it except possibly negative references from a vindictive executive. We sat in defeated silence until Grace spoke up. My cousin says River District has unused office space with internet connection. What if we relocated our outreach efforts there? Without company systems? Paolo questioned. What if we created paper applications? Lydia suggested. Old school. We collect all the information, documentation, signatures, everything needed, then process it all when systems access is restored. The energy in the room shifted. Or, I added, an idea forming. What if we brought the completed paperwork to other branches for processing? Split it between multiple locations, so no single manager bears the full risk of helping us. Paolo smiled for the first time since I'd met him. I know at least 3 branch managers who despise Victor as much as we do. By Wednesday, we had established a guerrilla operation. Mornings were spent at the West Branch maintaining appearances and serving existing customers with manual workarounds. Afternoons, we rotated through River District in pairs, working from a borrowed office with pop-up financial services handwritten on the door. Word spread through the startup community about the branch that wouldn't die. Financial professionals willing to understand their unique needs when the corporate structure had abandoned them. We began attracting attention not just from small startups, but from established River District businesses frustrated with their current financial institutions. We submitted 22 new account applications yesterday, Paolo reported during our morning meeting, processed through 4 different branches. And I have 31 businesses confirmed for tomorrow's workshop, Lydia added. The River District Management Office asked if we could set up a permanent satellite location in their main building, Grace said. They're willing to provide the space rent-free for 6 months. For the first time, I allowed myself to believe we might actually succeed. The numbers were compelling. In just 2 weeks, we had generated more new business accounts than the branch had acquired in the previous year. The potential revenue from these relationships, especially as these startups grew, was substantial. But Victor wasn't finished with us. Friday morning, I received an email that made my stomach twist. Effective immediately, West Branch closure date is moved up. All operations cease Monday. Staff termination processing will begin Tuesday. Required branch inventory Sunday, 9 a.m. Your attendance is mandatory. I stared at my phone, trying to process what this meant. We had just lost 2 crucial weeks. All our momentum, all our planning, cut short by a vengeful executive who somehow knew exactly what we were doing. The team's reaction was as expected. Shock, anger, resignation. He won. Again, Rajan said, shaking his head. Just like with the East Branch and the airport location. Betsy placed a hand on my shoulder. You tried, Millie. That's more than anyone else did for us. I looked around at these people who had trusted me, who had worked incredible hours on nothing but faith in my wild plan. I couldn't let them down. Sunday inventory, I repeated slowly. That gives us approximately 48 hours. For what? Paolo asked. It's over. No, I countered, a new clarity washing over me. It's just changing form. If we only have until Sunday, then Sunday becomes our deadline to present our case. To who? Lydia asked. Victor's the one closing us down, and he's made it clear he won't listen. Not to Victor, I said, pulling out my phone. To the executive committee. They meet Monday morning to review quarterly performance. Victor was supposed to present the successful branch consolidation strategy as part of his report. The committee won't see us, Betsy objected. Believe me, I've tried reaching them before. They won't have to see us, I explained, an idea crystallizing. They'll see our results. I pulled up the company organizational chart I'd downloaded months ago. Kenneth Wright, Chief Financial Officer. His nephew owns a tech startup in River District. Amanda Chen, Operations Director. She's been pushing for small business expansion for years. Terrence Jackson, Chief Marketing Officer. He was publicly criticized last quarter for the company's retreat from diverse communities. Understanding dawned on their faces. You're building an alliance, Paolo said, impressed. No, we're building irrefutable proof that Victor's strategy is flawed and that he deliberately sabotaged a profitable opportunity. But we have less than 48 hours to make it happen. The energy in the room transformed from defeat to determined focus. How many accounts do we need to make this undeniable? Betsy asked. I did quick calculations. At our current conversion rate, 50 new business accounts would project to over $2 million in first-year revenue. That's 10 times what headquarters forecasted for this branch's final year. No executive could ignore that discrepancy. We have 29 confirmed, Paolo reported. Need 21 more by Sunday. We'll need documentation, Lydia pointed out. Irrefutable evidence of everything. The accounts, the projections, the interference from Victor. And we need to present it in a way they can't ignore, I added. Grace, usually the quietest team member, stepped forward. My cousin says River District is hosting a press event Sunday afternoon. The mayor will be there to announce new infrastructure improvements. All the local business leaders will attend. The perfect storm was brewing. If we could secure enough accounts, document our case thoroughly, and create a public moment too significant to ignore, we might just pull off a miracle. But as we dispersed to execute our final push, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Victor knows everything. Board meeting moved up to Sunday night. Your branch records are being audited now. Be careful. I stared at my phone, cold realization washing over me. The anonymous text confirmed what I'd suspected. Victor had informants throughout the company. The accelerated closure, the system upgrades, the mandatory inventory, all calculated moves in his game. Who was that? Betsy asked, catching my expression. I showed her the message. We have a bigger problem than we thought. The board meeting has been moved up to Sunday night. That can't be coincidence, Paolo said, peering over her shoulder. Sunday inventory followed immediately by a Sunday night board meeting. Victor's going to present the branch closure as already completed, I concluded. A fait accompli before anyone can question it. The gravity of our situation descended on the group. Our timeline had compressed from 48 hours to effectively 24. And now we knew Victor was actively monitoring our activities. We need to go off-grid, I decided. Nothing through company channels, no company devices, no company locations. Within an hour, we had relocated our operation to the back room of Celestina's Cafe, a small business across from River District owned by one of Rajan's longtime customers. Celestina cleared space, provided coffee, and promised discretion. My father couldn't get a business loan for 10 years until your branch helped him, she told Rajan. Use whatever you need. We divided into teams. Paolo and Grace would continue direct business outreach. Lydia would compile our performance data and projections. Rajan would coordinate with sympathetic branch managers to process paperwork. Betsy would prepare the presentation materials. I had the most delicate task, reaching out to potential allies on the executive committee without alerting Victor. Kenneth Wright plays golf every Saturday morning at Hillcrest, Betsy informed me. He's usually done by 10:30 and has coffee on the terrace. How do you know that? I asked. I've worked here 16 years, she replied with a small smile. You learn things about executives when they think you're invisible. Saturday morning found me sitting at Hillcrest Country Club's terrace, nursing an overpriced coffee and rehearsing my approach. When Kenneth Wright emerged from the clubhouse, I recognized him immediately from company events. Tall, silver-haired, perpetually serious. I waited until he had settled at a table before approaching. Mr. Wright, I'm Millicent Walsh, West Branch manager. His expression shifted from annoyance at being interrupted to confusion. West Branch? Isn't that closing? That's what I needed to discuss with you, sir. It concerns your nephew's business in River District. That caught his attention. Jordan's startup? What about it? He's one of 37 businesses we've signed in the past 2 weeks. Businesses that now have no local branch to serve them since our closure date was suddenly accelerated. Wright's eyes narrowed. Sit down, Miss Walsh. For 20 minutes, I laid out our discovery about River District's potential, our guerrilla campaign to serve these businesses, and the systematic obstacles we'd encountered. I presented preliminary numbers showing projected revenue that far exceeded the branch's previous performance. Why am I just hearing about this now? Wright demanded. Because Victor Harmon has been actively suppressing this information while fast-tracking our closure, I answered, sliding across copies of our rejected market analysis and system access revocation notices. The Sunday inventory is designed to ensure we're gone before Monday's executive committee meeting. Wright studied the documents, his expression darkening. These projections are substantial, but without official company records. We've maintained independent documentation of everything, I assured him. And we have confirmation from over 30 businesses willing to verify their interest. Wright was silent for a long moment. The board meeting has indeed been moved to Sunday evening. Victor has requested expedited approval for his branch consolidation strategy. Can you delay the vote? I asked. Not without cause. I'd need more than projections. I'd need proof that this opportunity is real and substantial. He checked his watch. I need to go. I appreciate your initiative, Miss Walsh, but the company has procedures. As he stood, I played my final card. The mayor is announcing new infrastructure investments for River District tomorrow afternoon. The press will be there. So will the business owners we've been working with, all talking about how our branch has been the only financial institution actively supporting their growth. Wright paused. What time is this announcement? 3 o'clock. River District Plaza. I make no promises, Miss Walsh. I returned to Celestina's, where the team had been working through the night. The cafe tables were covered with paperwork, laptops, and empty coffee cups. Everyone looked exhausted, but determined. We've reached 43 confirmed accounts, Paolo reported. Need 7 more to hit our target. The presentation is ready, Betsy added. All the documentation is organized and clear enough that even the most finance-averse executive can understand it. I've created projections showing 5-year growth potential, Lydia said. The numbers are conservative but still impressive, particularly compared to Victor's premium client strategy. I spoke with Kenneth Wright, I told them. He's interested but non-committal. We need to make Sunday's presentation undeniable. Grace looked up from her phone. My cousin just confirmed that business attendance for tomorrow's announcement has doubled. Word has spread about what we're trying to do. We worked through the afternoon, reaching out to every contact, refining our presentation, and preparing for Sunday's dual challenges, the mandatory inventory and the public announcement. As evening approached, another anonymous text arrived. Victor scheduled system audit for Sunday 6 a.m. before your inventory. He's erasing digital traces of your project. Can he do that? Lydia asked when I shared the message. Technically no, ethically no, practically yes, I answered. Without those records, it becomes our word against his. We needed a solution. Rajan suggested having sympathetic colleagues download records before the audit. Betsy recommended printed backup copies. Paolo wanted to alert the IT department anonymously. Then Grace spoke up. What if we don't fight the audit? What if we make it irrelevant? She outlined a radical plan. Instead of trying to preserve digital records within the company system, we would create an entirely new, independent record of our achievements, customer testimonials, signed account applications, video statements, revenue projections, certified by an independent accountant friend of Lydia's. Victor can erase company records, Grace explained, but he can't erase external documentation that exists outside his reach. By sunrise Sunday, we had created a comprehensive physical and digital portfolio of our River District initiative. 52 businesses had committed to accounts, exceeding our goal. 23 had provided video testimonials about their experience with our team. 17 had signed letters describing how Victor's policies had previously prevented them from working with our company. The morning's mandatory inventory proceeded with tense formality. Victor himself arrived to oversee the process, watching with barely concealed satisfaction as we cataloged office supplies and prepared to hand over keys. I'll need your company IDs and devices before you leave, he instructed coldly. Your final checks will be mailed after exit interviews next week. Of course, I replied calmly. We'll bring everything to the River District announcement this afternoon. I assume you'll be there? Confusion flickered across his face. What announcement? The mayor's infrastructure announcement. All our new business clients will be there too. Did headquarters not inform you? Kenneth Wright seemed very interested when I mentioned it. Victor's expression hardened. This branch is closed, effective immediately. Whatever unauthorized activities you've been conducting, end now. I've already informed the executive committee about your inappropriate solicitation of Mr. Wright and your unauthorized client outreach. He leaned closer, voice low. Did you really think a failing branch manager could challenge me? By tomorrow, you'll be lucky if you can get a job as a grocery store cashier in this town. I maintained eye contact. See you at 3 o'clock, Victor. As he stalked away, the team exchanged nervous glances. Did you just directly challenge the man who's firing us? Rajan asked. I did, I admitted. And he's right about one thing. A failing branch manager can't challenge him. I reached into my bag and pulled out the portfolio we'd created. But this can. At 2:45 p.m., we arrived at River District Plaza, where a crowd had already gathered. Local news cameras were setting up near a small stage. The mayor and other officials were chatting with business owners. And standing at the edge of the gathering, looking distinctly uncomfortable, was Kenneth Wright, along with 2 other members of the executive committee. They came, Betsy whispered, gripping my arm. But where's Victor? He'll be here, I assured her, though uncertainty gnawed at me. If Victor chose not to appear, our public confrontation strategy would collapse. At precisely 3 o'clock, the mayor approached the microphone to announce a $50 million infrastructure investment in River District. As she spoke about economic growth and business development, I scanned the crowd anxiously. Then I spotted him, Victor, standing near the executive committee members, speaking urgently into one's ear. The mayor concluded her remarks and introduced the River District Business Association president, who began acknowledging key partners in the district's success. And we'd especially like to recognize the extraordinary team from West Branch Financial Services, who have become vital partners to over 50 businesses here in just the past 3 weeks. Applause erupted as he gestured toward our team. Victor's head snapped up in shock. In fact, the association president continued, I'm told they've single-handedly demonstrated the viability of financial services in our district, generating impressive projections that have caught the attention of their corporate leadership. Wright stepped forward, whispering something to the association president, who nodded and yielded the microphone. Good afternoon, Wright began. As chief financial officer, I'm always interested in growth opportunities. What I've learned about the work happening here is illuminating. He turned toward Victor, whose face had drained of color, particularly since our current strategy explicitly deprioritized these markets. That was my cue. I approached the stage, portfolio in hand. Mr. Wright, we've prepared complete documentation of our findings, I said, voice steady despite my racing heart. 52 new business accounts established. Projected first-year revenue exceeding $2.3 million. Growth potential analysis for the next 5 years. I handed him the portfolio, adding, including detailed records of the systematic obstruction we encountered while developing these relationships. Wright accepted the portfolio, opening it to review its contents while the crowd watched in silence. Victor stepped forward, face twisted with anger. This is completely unauthorized, he hissed. These people have been operating outside company protocols after being explicitly instructed to process an orderly branch closure. Wright looked up from the documents. Is that true, Miss Walsh? Did you disobey direct instructions regarding branch closure? This was the moment everything hinged on. I took a deep breath. Yes, sir, I did, because those instructions contradicted our company's stated mission to serve communities and support business growth. When we discovered the River District opportunity, we had a choice: blindly follow a flawed strategy or demonstrate a better alternative. I gestured to the business owners in the crowd. These aren't just accounts. They're partnerships that will grow with the right support. They represent the future of banking in this community. Wright turned to Victor. You were aware of this potential? These are inflated projections, Victor insisted. Unverified claims from a manager trying to save her job. The association president stepped forward. Actually, we can verify everything. Our members have provided statements and growth projections. The economic impact analysis from the city supports these numbers. The potential here is real. For the next 15 minutes, business owners approached the microphone, describing how our team had created tailored solutions for their needs when other institutions wouldn't. With each testimony, Victor's position visibly weakened. Finally, Wright addressed the crowd. On behalf of the company, I want to thank the West Branch team for their initiative. Rest assured, their work has not gone unnoticed. He turned to me. Miss Walsh, the executive committee will review your findings thoroughly at tonight's meeting. I believe we may need to reconsider certain strategic decisions. As the event concluded, Victor cornered me away from the crowd. You've made a serious mistake, he warned, voice low and dangerous. This little publicity stunt doesn't change anything. I still determine your future with this company. I smiled calmly. Actually, Victor, you don't, because I don't have a future with this company. I resigned this morning. His expression shifted to confusion, then triumph. So this was all for nothing. You quit anyway. Not for nothing, I corrected him. I accepted a position as River District's first director of financial development, working directly with these same businesses to establish a community development financial institution. The mayor offered the position yesterday. I handed him a business card with my new title, and our first initiative will be establishing banking partnerships with institutions that actually value these clients. Kenneth Wright has already expressed interest in discussing how your company might participate under new regional leadership. Of course, the color drained from Victor's face as understanding dawned. You set me up. No, Victor, you did that yourself when you tried to bury opportunity for the sake of your ego. I just made sure everyone could see what you were doing. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and the file I gave right includes documentation of how you manipulated performance metrics to justify closing branches in predominantly minority neighborhoods, including moving high-value accounts to other branches right before evaluation periods. The board might find that particularly interesting given the discrimination lawsuit the company settled last year. 3 hours later, my team and I sat in Celestina's cafe, watching breaking news on her small television. The reporter announced a shakeup in regional leadership at our former company, with Victor being placed on administrative leave pending review. I still can't believe it worked, Rajan said, raising his coffee cup in a toast. I can't believe you resigned before knowing if it would work, Betsy added, looking at me with newfound respect. I smiled. I realized something important during these 3 weeks. Success isn't about winning within a broken system. It's about building something better. Paolo raised his cup. As we celebrated, my phone buzzed with a message from Kenneth Wright. Executive Committee unanimously voted to establish permanent River District location. Position of District Director open immediately. Interested? I showed the message to my team. Their expressions asked the question before they could speak it. Don't worry, I assured them. I already replied that I'll only consider it if I can bring my own team. All of you. Lydia grinned. From fired to hired in the same day. Not bad. Not bad at all, I agreed, thinking about the journey we'd traveled in just 30 days. From a branch destined for closure to the company's most promising new venture. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your opponent. It's about proving them wrong in ways they can never undo. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you for taking this journey with me. It's stories like these, of standing up against unfair systems and finding unexpected victory, that remind us what's possible when we refuse to accept defeat. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life accounts of workplace challenges and triumphs. Share in the comments if you've ever faced a similar situation or had to fight for what you believed was right. Your support helps these stories reach others who might need to hear them. Until next time, remember that sometimes the branches that seem dead are just waiting for the right moment to bloom again.